Welcome to episode 6 of Wrestling is Fiction. Big episode for us. We have our own King of the Ring and Queen of the Ring that we wrote, and a couple episodes of Raw and Smackdown to talk about and go over. I'm Zach Hannigan with my partner Darkstar Shady. Let's get into it.
What's up, everybody? Darkstar Shady here, and before we get into today's episode, it's time to go through a few of our sponsors. First off, you can head to my website, darkstarshady.com/wrestlingisfiction. You'll find everywhere you can listen to our podcast. After that, you can head to our sponsors page, where you'll find, first off, the official sponsor of Wrestling is Fiction, Gengar's TCG shop over on TikTok. He sells Pokemon cards by the single and by the pack. He does live rip and ships where you can buy the packs while he's live. He opens them up for everyone to see what you pull, and then he mails you the cards afterwards. After that, I've partnered with a gaming energy drink company called Dubby. If you use code DARKSTAR10 on Dubby.gg, you'll get 10% off your next order, and I really recommend the Galaxy Grenade flavor. It's watermelon, guava, lime, and I really like how I feel drinking it. Gives me a lot of energy, I don't get jittery or anything like that, and I've been drinking it for a few weeks now, and I'm really enjoying it. Let's get to today's episode.
All right, welcome back, everyone. We have a episode of Smackdown and Raw to cover. We got our King and Queen of the Ring PLE coming up in Saudi Arabia. So starting out, why don't we just go ahead and start with the last Smackdown we saw on the 17th. Any major surprises for you, Steven?
Kinda. So the way I figured they were going to do it is they had Bianca and Jade both in this tournament. And I figured they were going to kind of build up to the two of them having to face off with each other to kind of start building that tension between that tag team. So the fact that they had Jade lose in such a weird way with that DQ, it kind of threw me off to the fact that why are they even in this tournament if they're not going to build something between them?
It's also kind of early for that to happen, so I don't know why Bianca and Jade were kind of that far in the tournament, if in the tournament at all. And also, too, they've made Nia Jax this dominant force, and then to have to win like that, and I don't even know how long that match was. Didn't even start. I think it was like a 2-minute thing on TV, and that was that.
Yeah, it was just a really weird match overall. I didn't expect Jade to lose. I didn't expect a DQ finish, but it does make me wonder if Nia Jax can take this tournament all the way to the top.
Well, that was sort of my thinking. I mean, unless you want Bianca to win it, I could see that too. But, maybe that's the way they're going to build the tension. Bianca wins it, and Jade is a little jealous that it was kind of taken from her.
Yeah, I could see that. It just kind of circles back to what we talked about in the last episode, where I was wondering why put the tag titles on them if they're not going to be a tag team and they're going to give them these little singles runs. Build the tension in tag matches, or build the tension between them using this tournament. Don't use it to push them to the top and give them another singles accolade and make those tag titles just a pretty accessory that don't get used.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, if I'm looking at the results now, I think I would rather have had Bianca Belair be the one that was defeated out of the two, because it felt like they were giving Tiffany Stratton that push, and then you kind of let Jade advance. If she beats someone like Nia, especially this new, she's looking more dominant than ever. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of like, let's get back to defending these titles. We're doing side quests at this point.
And I do wonder if there was a little controversy with Tiffany Stratton beforehand on social media. I wonder if they had to kind of pivot and give her a loss as a punishment, which meant that they had to figure out how to rewrite Jade and Nia really quickly.
First, it was whatever she said, and then now it's wardrobe malfunctions, apparently.
Yeah, there was quite a few of those.
Probably don't want her in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, I wonder if she doesn't want to be in Saudi Arabia because she doesn't want to have to dress the way they do and the way they
I
require.
I wouldn't want to be. I think there are certain superstars who feel the same either. They don't want to go there.
Yeah,
Um,
which surprises me that I know Bailey's not going to be at the King and Queen of the Ring, and I wondered if it was because it was in Saudi, but she's actually supposed to be on the Smackdown they're filming there beforehand.
yeah, I guess they're not ready to have her do anything yet.
Yeah, which I don't know. I just find it interesting the way they're building these cards, and I wonder how much Tiffany's little social media mishaps kind of played into how they wrote that SmackDown episode.
We'll see. I mean, all we can do is follow the rumors and such that we see on uh, X, formerly known as Twitter. I think the
Yeah,
biggest disappointment for me on that SmackDown was the Logan Paul Cody contract signing. I don't understand. Cody's putting his title on the line. Logan's not, because clearly they're not ready for Logan to lose it yet. But then why build up this champion versus champion thing and then not put both titles on the line?
yeah, I don't understand that at all. It kind of made Cody look really weak because he gave in and signed the contract that Logan wanted. Didn't really give much pushback to saying, "Hey, your title needs to be on the line too." And it kind of gives us the idea that you just know Cody's going to win the match now. He's not going to drop his title to Logan Paul in Saudi Arabia. They're just going to put on a great match together, and they could have done it non-title even just to have a
Well,
big match together.
exactly. And it also really feels like Logan Paul signed himself up for a loss because there's no title shot on his side. And then it's like he's going to do this match and then what? Disappear again? I mean, if you're not building a rivalry for Cody right now, I don't know what they're doing. I mean, I would rather have seen AJ Styles get another shot, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, that would have been another good match. Give AJ Styles his second match. I also thought it made Nick Aldis seem really out of character as well. Because with Roman Reigns and the Bloodline, Nick Aldis was very tough on him. He was very, I'm not taking your shit. I'm going to do what I want to do as the GM. You're going to have to listen to my rules. But when Logan comes out with his own contract, Cody's like, hey, Nick, I don't need you here. I can take care of this. And Nick just kind of bowed his head and walked away. That doesn't seem very.
Yeah,
Uh,
it was a not very well done promo and weird and I think at one point Logan Paul messed up a line and called it a contract instead of a title. And it wasn't well done. It kind of feels rushed, like they just wanted to have Cody appear with a big match. But it seems like they kind of just given away the result before the
yeah,
match even goes.
yeah, they definitely don't know what they're doing with Cody quite yet. He doesn't have anyone to really feud with. There's not really a top heel for him to go against on SmackDown. They've got the Bloodline, but none of them are quite WWE Championship ready. They've got Randy Orton playing the babyface, so he's not going to turn and pivot quite yet.
Yeah, and then you have a couple former champions. You know, you got Kevin Owens, not really sure what his thing is. Is he with Randy? Is he not? Um, AJ Styles still sitting there, but you just gave him a shot. Do you want to give him another one? Because we probably know he's going to lose anyway.
Yeah, and half the people that have been former champions or in that championship picture are all people that were on Cody's side to get that title. So
Exactly.
unless he's gonna go on one off, hey, we're best friends, let's have a friendly title match together. There's no one
I
to really
know.
build him up against.
I can imagine a couple of those.
Yeah, I think they should have probably done a couple of those friendly matches where he gives people a chance at his title again before they built up AJ Styles and gave him such an intense loss right off the bat.
So transitioning to King of the Ring, the actual tournament, not the match card. Randy Orton beats Carmelo Hayes, which I kind of think we saw coming. But this lends itself to a question for you. Who do you have winning the whole thing?
At this point, Probably Gunther. I really thought it was going to come down to Jey Uso and Tama Tonga in the end, but having Jey take another big loss on Raw and taking him out of the tournament, I think Gunther has to win it now. I don't think Tama Tonga's ready. There is a shot that Randy goes all the way and beats Gunther, but I think Gunther would benefit more from the push right now.
I'm with you on a Gunther Randy final. I actually have Randy winning it. I think he's been around so long and never got to do it that, hopefully they give him this. Gunther will get another shot. Gunther clearly has this feud with Ilya Dragunov coming up. So I'm wondering if he wins King of the Ring, is that going to be it? And it's like, all right, don't go after Damian Priest. So
that
then on
brings
the
the
other,
question, have they announced that the winner gets a title shot or anything, or is it just the King of the Ring tournament?
they haven't, and that's why I think right now, who who does it help more? Randy can win it, and he's probably not going to get a shot at Cody. If Gunther wins it, I mean, Raw doesn't have many guys right now waiting in the wings. Like, Drew McIntyre's there, but he obviously has to settle that feud with CM Punk, and he's injured. So Gunther's the only obvious Damian Priest opponent, but they've been teasing this Ilya Dragunov thing. So it's curious to see what they're going to do. And no, they haven't said the men. I don't think they've said the women get anything either.
No, I
Other
think
than the title.
in the history of King of the Ring, I think they've only made it a number one contenders tournament once, maybe twice, and I think it was it Brock Lesnar who got a title shot because of it?
Well, I just think that if you win that tournament, they're going to have to do a follow-on thing with you. Like, look, you've
Yeah.
been a dominant superstar. Now what?
Yeah, I was just scrolling through Twitter last night and someone was like, hey, I'm calling Gunther to win so he can get whatever title shot he wants and he's gonna jump over to Smackdown to face Cody. And I was like, I don't think they've said that you get a title shot. I don't think that's how it's working quite yet.
No one's going to jump over this early after the draft either.
Yeah, not. And people really want to see Gunther and Cody for that WWE Championship, but honestly, looking at Gunther, I think that World Heavyweight Championship title would look like a better fit on him.
And I think Damian Priest and Gunther will be a great match.
Yeah, I think Damian Priest is very
sneaky
underrated.
athletic.
Yeah. Yeah, he's sneaky athletic, and I think he's still somehow underrated on a technical sense. Like, he's a good wrestler. He puts on a good show when he does things. I just don't know that he's gotten the right booking and the right feuds to really show that.
Well, maybe we get a Gunther feud and find out.
Yeah, how did you feel about the LA Knight Tama Tonga match on SmackDown?
Well, we kind of knew the result, I think. I would love to see LA Knight win just as much as I like to see Jey Uso win. They're kind of in the same boat where they're so over with fans, but it's heartbreak after heartbreak.
Yeah.
I mean, and I'm thinking about Raw because I was actually there in that one in Greensboro. And, Jey Uso, man, that crowd was electric for him. Even before the show, they were chanting Yeet. And I'm thinking, who is the mid-card guy there? It's Sami Zayn. And him and Jey seem to be best friends and character. So you're wondering, okay, Jey doesn't get that. What are we doing with him?
Yeah,
Is it Priest?
I honestly thought Jey would make the finals before Gunther did, just because of...
I did too.
Gunther doesn't necessarily need the King of the Ring title if there's not a number one contendership in it.
No, he doesn't.
He's got so many feuds built in. He's got the power to challenge for a title and be believable. Whereas Jey is this main event superstar that's not getting the main event treatment.
Or ever winning the big one in a singles title. I mean, Gunther had one forever, so...
Yeah, and Jey, he obviously has the crowd behind him wherever he's at in the world. He's one of their top merch sellers. He's there every week. He puts on great matches, even if some people think his wrestling's a little more limited. He
I
goes up against...
was disappointed in the ending of that Gunther Jay match. I was there live, and all of a sudden the bell just rang to end the match, and everyone in the crowd was like, "What happened?" If you weren't right
Yeah.
there in the front row, it was like, "What? Why is this match over?"
Yeah,
Um,
it was a strange finish, even just watching it like on a stream.
I guess they don't like Gunther's powerbomb finisher anymore because now all of a sudden he's a submission artist, and it's like, what is his finisher?
Yeah, I don't know if he's ever really had a finisher. He always ends it with one of 3, 4, 5 even different moves, and I don't know. I was surprised he got the win over Jay because Jay has the momentum right now. He has
Yeah,
the
they need to
momentum, and if they
workshop
don't,
it.
he has the momentum, and if they don't give him a payoff soon, they're gonna lose one of their top merch sellers. As far as the crowd being behind him, was there anything else on SmackDown before we go completely into Raw? I know there was a DIY tag team match. Um,
Yeah, pretty insignificant. Um, Rest of the card, I think.
yeah, I will say the one thing is, Carmelo Hayes has been on SmackDown for 3 weeks, and he's main evented twice now.
Yeah, he's definitely getting a push, which is, I mean, I know he can't beat Randy Orton, but,
No, and
you know,
He said himself online. I didn't lose. I just didn't win. I main evented twice. I'm here. I'm getting big moments with some of the biggest names there are on SmackDown. So it's great for him to see him wrestling with Cody, wrestling with Randy, and keeping up with them at least.
well, I think we all know from his NXT days that he's very talented, and I wasn't surprised to see him do that. Um, but Randy Orton's Randy Orton, man.
Yeah, yeah. I don't see anyone really taking that spot from him so early on in their career. At least not for another year or two if Randy decides to start slowing down and wanting to give those uh, smaller talents a bigger push.
Yeah, moving to Raw, they open with Sami Zayn, who seems to kind of not made a bunch of appearances lately. Like he's been there, but you haven't seen him in ring as much. Usually you see him every week. That match with Gable was great. I kind of had the feeling Gable was going to win. Usually the heel wins before a big PLE. The Otis thing was so funny because I was in the crowd and they were chanting, "We want Otis." I go, they're going to chant that and he's going to break their hearts. And he did.
He did.
Yeah.
He had his moment backstage later. I don't know if you got to see the backstage segment or not. I know
Yeah.
sometimes they show him to live crowds, sometimes they don't. But he was like, "I want to apologize to him," and Chad's just like, "What's wrong with you? Just what's wrong with you?"
Yeah, I didn't like that. I didn't like the apology thing.
Yeah,
Let Otis be a heel for 1 week.
I don't know where they're gonna go with that story and how much of this story is even about the title shot anymore. Unless maybe Bronson Reed finally
Yeah,
gets his
and it's
Intercontinental title.
unfortunate because it's taken so long for this Gable Sami Zayn match to happen. I feel like the rivalry started a couple months ago.
Yeah,
And
it really did.
when Gable had momentum, you felt like, all right, he can really take this from Sammy. And now I don't see Sammy losing.
I don't see Sammy losing to Chad Gable. No, the feud is no longer about Sammy. It's just about Chad turning on his own faction and what's going to happen there. It almost feels like he may lose the match because Otis finally turns on him, and that
Yeah,
just makes the Intercontinental title irrelevant.
that would be my prediction as well.
And then we had their Queen of the Ring semifinal, Lyra and Io Sky.
What a match, man. Lyra was a surprising winner for me. I was rooting for her, but I figured Io was going to win the whole time.
Yeah,
So
same. Especially with Io coming off of her big title run. I didn't think that Lyra would actually get the win over her being a new Raw talent.
yeah, no, it makes you wonder, what are we doing with Io? She used to feel close to unbeatable when Damage Control was at their powers, and now it's like she can't win.
Yeah, and ending that match bleeding and then having Dakota Kai bleeding over in her match too. Damage Control's literally just getting kind of tossed around and hurt pretty badly right now.
Well, if you believe that Bailey was the true leader, then it's kind of happening before our eyes. I did like the way the match ended, though. I mean, a pin like that, it still gave EO a good showing and kind of made it seem like, yeah, Lyra won, but it wasn't a convincing win.
Yeah, yeah, I do wonder who that women's semifinalist is going to be, because we still have what, Nia and Bianca to face off against each other.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I don't see Lyra going further than this, but it's
Yeah,
it would be an incredible. I mean, it's already been an incredible run for her, and now she's getting Becky Lynch spots, so they're really pushing her.
yeah. So I think even if she doesn't win this tournament, she's got the big push she needed to really propel her on the main roster wherever she goes. And she is a very good technical wrestler. I think she may have surprised some people with some of the moves she was pulling off.
Yeah, I really think she's skillful in ring, and so is EO, which really made a good match.
Yeah, I don't know what that little like cradle she had EO in was called, where she like pinned up her legs and pulled her arms back and was just like swinging her around.
Yeah, that was amazing to see in person. I was like, what?
Yeah, I don't know that I've seen that move used in a very long time. I was
That was
reading
like two
comments online.
sisters fighting at home, just trying to.
Yeah, yeah, and that was a pretty incredible match overall. And then from there, we also had a tag team championship match.
We did, which was fun to get a title match in person.
Oh yeah,
Um,
I bet.
you kind of figure they're going to retain, but good to see Finn Balor and JD McDonough, and then you get your R-Truth. I talked to Andre the Giant spot, and you're like, all right, whatever. And then it's, Braun Strowman, who might as well be coming out to help him. So it was fun to see all of them. I just wish Finn Balor was getting a little more heat.
Yeah, yeah. This also makes me wonder who's gonna take the titles from Awesome Truth.
That's true. I mean, there's New Catch Republic that's kind of hanging around, seemed to maybe be getting a title shot. They had that promo backstage.
Yeah, I just they've had the titles longer than I've expected already. I thought it would be like a one-off, maybe a couple weeks before they drop it on a Raw episode, or they've already gone
Yeah,
through a whole nother
I
PLE.
had a feeling that maybe they could lose at Raw. I didn't think they would, and they didn't, obviously. So yeah, I guess I mean I don't really know what tag team they're waiting for.
Yeah, it's definitely not the Creed brothers since they don't really exist much anymore. They had a little spot with Chad Gable in the back, which almost kind of gave you like a little tease back to Team Angle, but
Yeah,
they haven't really been given much lately either. They would be a contender for that title that I haven't really seen used either.
yeah,
And
and
speaking
then
of Team Angle, didn't Gable get some "You Suck" chants too?
yeah. No, I was very proud of my town here coming up with the "You Suck." And that's going to stick. And Gable probably loved it deep down. He was like, I'm so over.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, he's getting to be a heel. He's getting his uh, little push here, and he's also getting the crowd kind of just comparing him to one of the greatest wrestlers there's been.
Yeah. And, speaking of chance, I need to tell you this because I don't think it was on air. The Braun Breaker Kale Dixon match, when obviously he about tries to kill that man in the ring.
Yeah.
Um, as the stretcher is out there getting Dixon out of the ring, and I assume it was commercial on TV, the crowd started chanting "Nana Nana, hey hey hey, goodbye" to Kale
I don't.
Dixon. I was like, "Why are these people so savage? This guy is almost dead, sitting here on this stretcher."
Yeah, I don't think I heard that on the broadcast, but that's pretty incredible. And Braun Breaker just kind of snapped on Raw, didn't he?
Yeah, I like what they're doing with him. Um, kind of like, if you're not going to give it to me, I'm going to come take it.
Yeah, and I'm hoping this will kind of pivot him away from all these little jobbers just having these 30-second matches to someone finally standing up to him and be like, no, we're going to actually go in the ring and settle this. We're
Yeah, I
going to
don't know
calm you
what
down a little.
Ricochet did to him, but
At
that
wrong
looks like
place,
a
wrong
match,
time.
probably.
Yeah, if he ever recovers from that spear. He
Yeah.
had Ilya Dragunov twitching next to him just from watching what happened to him. Yeah, so if Ricochet doesn't have about 6 broken ribs, he may have a match with Braun Breaker coming up. But it gave me vibes of Shawn Michaels backstage, just sweet chin music to everyone, kind of moments like that.
I forgot about that.
Just
Security guards.
just
Just,
whoever was in his way, just
yeah.
you're next, you're next. So I almost expected Braun Breaker to pop up 1 or 2 more times and just spear someone else like that.
What else did we have? We had a Ilya Dragunov match.
Yeah, did we?
Did we? No, I'm thinking
No.
of. I'm sorry, they cut a promo with him alluding to a match. I don't think that was on TV. It was before they started.
Mm.
Um,
There was the number 1 contenders match for the women's tag titles, the
yes.
Fatal 4-Way, which honestly I kind of tuned in and out of that. I wasn't fully paying attention to it.
Well, I'm honestly happy that at least Zoe and Shayna feel like a realistic team to beat, to match the power of Bianca and Jade.
Yeah, they definitely have the strength behind them and they have the look to compete with them. I just kind of didn't pay attention to that match though up until the end when they won. And obviously Dakota bleeding.
Yeah. Dakota Kai can't catch a break either.
No, and I think she's a very good talent who, if she wasn't with Damage Control and kind of stuck in these storylines and kind of now having to tag with Kyrie because Asuka's out, she could do a lot more.
It seems that she's kind of taken over that Bailey role.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, she doesn't seem to win enough to really make their faction feel powerful.
Yeah, and I think with Asuka being out now with, I think it was her knee that's hurting her, I think that kind of is throwing a wrench in their storylines as well because they have to shift Dakota to partnering with Kyrie. Kyrie doesn't really have anything else to do at the moment.
And then what? We had our number 1 contender, King of the Ring semifinal, not number 1 contender. We talked about that a little bit. Disappointing finish to me. Was overall a pretty fun match to watch.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought it was a good match. There was a lot of moments where I thought it could have ended, but I was looking at the clock and I'm like, no, they still have 8 more minutes left. They're not going to end it yet. And I don't know. I really am surprised Jay lost that match.
It is both surprising and unsurprising to me. I think at the beginning of this tournament, I probably did pick Gunther to go all the way. But then when it got to this point, I was thinking to myself, this is finally going to be the big match that Jay won. I mean, he damn near beat Gunther the last time before it was interrupted. So you kind of knew he could do it. And I felt like that was a spot for them to finally let him win
Yeah.
something.
And that would have been a good win for him over Gunther, over a big name where he doesn't have to win a title from him. He doesn't have to beat him for any big moment. It's just part of the tournament. Anyone could lose that tournament. But I think going in before anyone was even announced for it, I think everyone had Gunther pegged as the King of the Ring.
That's why I only being different and saying Randy. Also because
Yeah.
as a fan, I really want Randy to win.
Yeah, that's fair. Like, that is the one thing Randy hasn't won, but I think that, I don't know. I just don't know what they're doing with the King of the Ring tournament if it's not a number 1 contender, so I don't know who benefits from that story in the long run. And I think the only other thing in Raw was we got another Becky and Liv segment.
We got Lyra getting smacked in the face for
Yeah.
absolutely no reason.
With the classic little, hey, look over there.
Yeah.
Which she fell for, which was kind of ridiculous, but
No recovering from that.
I do want to see Liv get that title eventually.
I think she will. I just don't see it now.
No, I don't know that I do either, and I don't know that giving Becky the title and then having Liv beat her instead of where her storyline was going with Rhea gives her the same kind of momentum. Because
True,
Becky,
and I don't know. I could see Becky losing it because it seems like they're setting her up with Lyra for something.
yeah, I just,
Perhaps a tag team if she does lose that title.
yeah, Becky is a big name, if not the biggest name on the women's roster, but she doesn't have the momentum of the year-long title reign that Rhea had that Liv was trying to destroy. So I don't know what they do there now.
Well, I don't think Liv Morgan necessarily cares. She just
No, she just wants her
wants
title.
gold. Yeah.
Yeah, so then I think that about wraps up all of our recaps we can do. So I think it's time to go into our next SmackDown, King of the Ring, and Raw.
Yeah, so I think I said it in the intro. We're doing this coming SmackDown and then our own version of King and Queen of the Ring. And then we will have my post King and Queen of the Ring Raw.
Yeah, so there's a lot of fan fiction coming at you right now. So we may go through these a little quicker than we normally do as far as how in depth the match details are. But we've got 2 full shows and a PLE for you, so you'll get a lot of information, a lot of
Yeah.
wrestling thrown at you.
We also have this lame thing called work and
Yeah,
responsibilities that we have to get to,
yeah, and usually I don't
after
have
this
work.
recording.
Usually I don't have work after we record, but I'm taking the 4-day weekend off, so I've got to give up most of my Wednesday today to make up for that. But
Speaking of that, I didn't think of that. It's going to be a Memorial Day Raw. What
yeah,
better way to honor the fallen Americans than with fighting and wrestling?
exactly. Maybe we'll get a John Cena cameo where he just comes out, salutes, and tells us about another terrorist we've killed.
And then goes home. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
Go
So
for it,
going into
Steven.
Smack so we're going into SmackDown and we're starting off with just a big graphic of the King of the Ring tournament. If you guys don't remember, each of us chose 4 people for our sides. So over on SmackDown, we've got Gunther, Rey Mysterio, Randy Orton, and Braun Breaker in the tournament. And they'll have 2 rounds on this SmackDown before the finals at the King and Queen of the Ring tournament. And then the women's bracket they show for SmackDown has got Gigi Dolan, Dakota Kai, Zelina Vega, and Candice LeRae. And they're just going to have the first round here and the next 2 rounds the next night at the PLE. So we're starting off with Gunther and Rey Mysterio coming out to the ring as the first round, first match of the King of the Ring tournament. And it's a surprisingly back and forth match. Gunther has a lot of power, but Rey, at his age, is still ridiculously speedy, ridiculously quick. He's springboarding off the ropes to kind of use that momentum to hit a clothesline here and there to kind of just slam his whole body into Gunther. One of the times he does that, though, Gunther literally catches him out of the air and just slams him to the mat. And it's going back and forth, and Rey actually picks up some momentum. But that's when out of the crowd, Dijak crosses over the barrier. He sees Rey Mysterio out of the ring for a moment, and he picks him up and power bombs him through a table, causing a DQ finish. Gunther kind of surprised, but he doesn't really mind taking an easy win. He still has to fight again that night. And Dijak just seems to not like the LWO, honestly. It cuts to backstage, and you've got the rest of LWO watching. Andrade's kind of nearby again, watching, and he's just, what's wrong with this guy? There was no rhyme or reason for it. A couple weeks ago, Dijak destroyed Dragon Lee in a match, and now he's coming after Rey Mysterio.
Yeah, shades of Rey Mysterio's World Heavyweight title run when he had to fight giants. We know Rey does okay against larger people, but I'm glad the respect factor there to a legend, not letting him get pinned, has to lose by
Yeah.
DQ.
Yeah, I didn't want him to win anything yet, but I also kind of wanted Gunther a little more rested for later in the show. That takes us into the next moment, which is Logan Paul makes an appearance. He comes out, and he comes out to the ring wearing like kind of his nicer clothes. He's not really ready for anything. And he grabs his mic and he's like, you know what? I'm the best thing in WWE and you should be happy your champion is back on TV. I'm gracing you with my presence. I'm the biggest attraction. I'm bringing so many more faces to watch this for you guys. Like, this is my show now. And that's when Nick Aldis comes out and he's like, actually, this is my show. I let you be here. I let you hold that title. And you know what? You don't defend that title quite enough. You should be on this a little more often if you're going to be talking about being a full-time wrestler now. So we're going to give you a match right now. It cuts to commercial, and when it comes back, Logan's kind of taking off his jacket and shirt. He's sitting there with a pair of jeans on still. And out comes Wes Lee. And Logan Paul wasn't ready for a match, and Wes Lee comes into the ring like off a big win the week before. He's ready to fight. And Wes Lee comes in, springboards off the ropes, hits a clothesline. And Logan Paul gets up pretty quickly, recovers. They're going back and forth for a minute. Logan actually looks pretty good for having not been prepared for this. Up until Wes Lee just hits him with a Pele kick. And Logan kind of gets up dazed and he kind of looks away. Wes is a few steps away and he goes to hit his one lucky punch. Wes Lee ducks under it, rolls up Logan, and gets the 3 count. And Wes Lee gets that United States Championship. Completely unexpected.
Wow. That's a
Yeah.
wrinkle I had no idea about. Logan Paul already dropped the title.
I asked you if you wanted to know the spoilers for what I was planning for Logan, and it was Wes Lee coming out for an unexpected match and getting a win just because Logan wasn't as prepared as he was to speak.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Is that our first singles title to change hands on our shows?
Yeah, I think so. We've switched the tag team titles around, but nothing else has changed. And
wow,
this was less of a Logan Paul losing the match because he wasn't as good, and more of a he came out cocky and didn't think that Nick Aldis would actually force him to do something.
And so, the crowd probably went wild.
Yeah, no one was expecting it. Half stunned silence, half just cheers and excitement that Logan Paul isn't their champion anymore. And Logan Paul just has this dazed look where he's like, what just happened and why is he holding my title now? And Wes Lee kind of gets out of there as quickly as he can after holding that title. He doesn't want to deal with Logan's anger after that.
Can't blame him.
Yeah, and then that takes us into the next King of the Ring match, which is going to be Randy Orton and Braun Breaker. And both of them are kind of just facing off with each other, not sure who's going to make the first move, how it's going to go. Braun Breaker's been kind of in these tag team matches with Carmelo and Ricochet against him, and Randy's a bit of a different fighter than either of them. So he takes his time, and they kind of start going back and forth. Braun hits him with a suplex. Randy lands on his back. You can see him kind of hurting a little bit, but Randy shakes it off pretty quickly. And they honestly kind of speed up the momentum here, but when Braun Breaker thinks, I've got my opening, I'm going to hit him with my spear, and he goes flying at those ropes, when he goes to jump forward, Randy flips himself around, hits that RKO, and gets a 3 count on Braun Breaker, kind of giving him his first big loss.
The fastest RKO in history, probably.
Yeah, no. Randy had to do a quick little flip there. Braun was flying at him, and he's like, this is my time. He won't expect it.
What a matchup. First round match. It's big.
Yeah, and that sets up for the main event then being announced as Gunther versus Randy Orton for the semifinals of King of the Ring. It goes from that into the next 2 matches are both going to be the Queen of the Ring matches for the night. So we have Gigi Dolan versus Dakota Kai. And Dakota Kai comes out with Io Sky and Kairi Sane with her. And Gigi Dolan comes out, but before she does, she has a little backstage moment with Nick Aldis where he's like, are you sure you can go out there after last week? And she's like, yeah, I'm fine. I'm recovered. Candice LeRae didn't do that much to me. I'm good to go. But when she gets out there and gets in the ring, Dakota kind of immediately goes after that knee that was being targeted the week before. And you can see that Gigi is not recovered. She's hurting. She's off balance. She's kind of stumbling and limping around. And Dakota gets a fairly easy win over Gigi Dolan. Um, Gigi thought she was good to go, and you can see in her face that she was struggling through a lot of pain that match. And then that goes straight into Candice LeRae versus Zelina Vega. And Candice comes out with, Indy Hartwell. And Candice comes out and she hits Zelina, kind of just targeting her back. And Candice has been on this mean streak where she's targeting people to hurt them, not to win. And one of the things she does is she has Indy Hartwell pull the turnbuckle cover off and slams Zelina's back into it and just keeps like thrusting her into it to keep hitting her back. And when she gets away from her a little bit, Zelina's kind of in the middle of the ring. Candice hits a running springboard moonsault off the middle ropes to knock her down and get the pinfall. So that's setting up Dakota
Two
Kai
kind of
and
violent women's matches there.
yeah, and that sets up an even more violent one, which was going to be Dakota Kai and Candice LeRae at King and Queen of the Ring the next day. Then we have one more match before the main event, and it's another tag team match. We've got Carmelo Hayes and Ricochet taking on the former champions A-Town Down Under. A-Town Down Under has been struggling, and you can see that they're not quite in sync with each other anymore. The two of them are coming out trying to prove that they're still a dominant tag team, but they don't trust each other at this point. And it shows through the match. They refuse to tag each other, even when they're getting kind of beat down. Ricochet is hitting some of his bigger moves, like a 450 off the top rope. And Carmelo actually gets the win with a springboard, almost a stunner, and gets the win over Grayson Waller in that one. Kind of takes his move off of him.
Oof, not looking good for A-Town Down Under.
Yeah, they came out wanting to show that they were still a dominant tag team, and they proved the exact opposite because they didn't even want to be in that ring with each other at this point. And then that takes us to the main event, which is Randy and Gunther. And it's as brutal and physical as you can imagine. Gunther comes out. Randy's got a bright red chest from all the chops he's hitting. Randy's kind of on the defensive for a lot of this. And Gunther at one point has Randy in his Boston Crab after Randy's been hit a few times. And you can see he's in pain and struggling. But he drags himself over to the ropes and gets a rope break. And Gunther's kind of in shock, and he doesn't let it go quite yet. The ref almost gets to that 5 where he's about to DQ him before he finally lets go. Randy's definitely hurting. When he gets up, Gunther hits him with that running drop kick. And Gunther gets a very near fall before Randy kicks out. And Gunther's getting a little frustrated. That's when he gets up to the top rope. He's ready to hit a splash, and Randy jumps up and hits his RKO and gets the 3 count on Gunther.
The Viper.
Yeah, you can tell even hitting that RKO, he was hurting, but he got the win, and he's headed to the finals of the King of the Ring tournament.
Man, we're set up for a good one.
Yeah, so that's going to be Randy Orton and LA Knight going face to face. And that's how your SmackDown ends.
All right, so moving on to our King and Queen of the Ring. Remember, the women have this new women's national championship on the line. So whichever woman wins Queen of the Ring, will be the very first national champion. And with that being said, very first match of the night is Candice LeRae and Dakota Kai.
Yeah, so both of them kind of had brutal wins the night before. They both got that mean streak. Dakota Kai is a little meaner in the Wrestling is Fiction universe than she is on TV. And Candice LeRae is just really falling into her heel mindset. And she's getting a little dark. So it comes out with Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwell at ringside with her. Dakota Kai has Io Sky and Kairi Sane with her. But the two of them mostly just stay in the ring and play it cool. They have a really good match together. But what really turns the tides is outside of the ring, Indy Hartwell gets a steel chair and hits Kairi Sane in the back with it. And that distracts Dakota Kai, and she kind of just looks over and she's like, what is Indy doing? Indy goes after Io with that steel chair. And when she does that, Candice LeRae takes the moment to see this distraction, and she starts hitting Dakota Kai in the back of the knee that was the one that had her out for so long. And Dakota starts to recover. You can see her limping a little bit. She's not really hurt, but that's when Candice LeRae hits another one of those springboard moonsaults and knocks her down. But instead of going for the pin, she hits her with a crossface. And she actually taps out Dakota Kai to get into the finals.
She is on a mean streak.
Yeah, she could have had a pinfall there, but she decided to just kind of rub it in her face a little more. So after we come back from a quick little break, we actually have Logan Paul come out to the ring. He's very upset. He's very bothered, and he's like, you know what? That's my title that Wesley took yesterday, and I wasn't prepared. That's my bad. I do want to be that full-time superstar. So next week on SmackDown, I want my rematch. Me and Wesley are going one-on-one for my title again. And he pops open a bottle of Prime, drinks it, walks out of the ring. And that was just his one-off little segment because they love him out there. The crowd was actually happy to see him, and we set up another title match for the next SmackDown.
They do love Logan Paul.
Yeah.
And as much as I don't like the guy, hate for him to see him lose his title like that, but
yeah.
You know.
But he's hoping to be a little more prepared, and that was kind of his wake-up call that, hey, if you want to be in the WWE, you have to be ready, especially if you're going to call yourself a superstar.
Yeah. So before I get into the next match, I want to remind everybody, I don't know the results of some of Steven's matches. King of the Ring and Queen of the Ring we obviously talked about, but we're surprising each other a lot today, it seems.
Yeah, you had absolutely no idea Logan was going to lose his title or
no,
what the promo
and I'm
was going to be.
I'm still kind of sitting here going over it.
Yeah, I told you I was going to have a Logan Paul promo at King of the Ring, but I didn't give you any details at all to it.
No, I just figured it would be another one of his arrogant, I'm the best things.
Yeah, we got that out of the way on SmackDown and had a bit of a shocking moment there.
All right, so now let's get into the Raw Women's semifinal. We have Nia Jax and Tiffany Stratton renewing their rivalry. Remember, they've gone at it a couple times on Raw and then a PLE, and Tiffy's 0 for 2. She got frustrated the last time, just got a chair and hit Nia with it and got herself DQ'd, so she really hasn't been able to beat Nia. And this match kind of starts out the same. I mean, Nia Jax, you can tell, is kind of in her head. She's slowing the pace down, using her strength, kind of tossing Tiffy around the room, getting good strikes. To the point where she just tosses Tiffy out the ring, and you see Tiffany Stratton kind of sitting there like phased, not really knowing what just hit her. Takes the moment kind of to collect herself. Nia tries to roll out the ring and come get her, and that's when Tiffy uses her speed and is kind of able to run up and kick Nia, make her stumble a little bit, and then she throws her into the steel steps and rolls back into the ring. Nia kind of stumbles back, and Tiffany doesn't let her foot off the gas. She goes full throttle. She bounces off the ropes, comes in, runs into Nia, can't quite knock her down, hits it again. She drops her. She goes up and hits her prettiest moonsault ever. Thinks about covering. She goes, no. Hits it again a second time. Covers Nia and gets her 1-2-3 count to advance to the Queen of the Ring final.
Nice. So that sets up a nice finals match for that Women's National Championship. And how do you picture that title looking in your mind? Do you have a image in your mind at all?
I never thought about it. I always thought similar to the IC title.
Okay.
Just because
I was picturing more of the shape of the women's tag team title, but with more of a throwback look to the old men's US title.
Yeah, maybe a listener wants to design it.
Yeah,
I'm
if someone
kidding.
has an idea,
I
make
mean,
it in. But
leave your comments, obviously, if you have an idea. I haven't thought about it, so you're surprising me on air here.
yeah,
Um,
I honestly hadn't thought about it until you were talking about that match, and I'm like, what would that title even look like?
well, with that, what are we doing? We're getting our Judgment Day grudge match.
Yes. So Finn Balor won his number one contenders match against Jey Uso, and he gets a shot at Damian Priest after this Judgment Day is kind of imploded. So we've got Finn actually comes out to the ring alone. So does Damian. Neither one of them have anyone with them, and they're just ready to have a solid match for this title. And it's very back and forth. Finn actually ends up picking up a lot of momentum, and he ends up hitting Damian with his inverted 1916 again. And Damian kicks out of that, and Damian kind of starts to rebound from this. He starts to get a little more momentum again, and he hits Finn Balor with a South of Heaven, which Finn Balor then kicks out of as well. And these two are probably going for 15, 20 minutes. And Damian starts to take the momentum back and hits Finn with a big boot. Finn kind of shakes it off a little bit, though, and kind of rolls out of the ring to recover. Damian, kind of getting frustrated with the ref. He feels like he should have had this match won a couple times. He starts arguing with him, and in that moment, Jey Uso comes out from under the ring and super kicks Finn and just throws him back into the ring. And when Damian turns around, he sees Finn kind of just on the ground, picks him up, hits him with a razor's edge, and gets the 3 count. Jey Uso at the side of the ring just kind of clapping and nodding at Damian, and you hear him say, "This wasn't for you, though. This is for messing up my title shot." And he walks away, and Damian keeps his title another week.
Jey Uso finally exacting a little revenge on all the people that have interrupted his matches.
Yeah,
So,
he's getting a little frustrated, and he wasn't going to let Finn have the title shot that he wasn't allowed himself.
all right. So next we have our women's heavyweight championship match: Becky Lynch versus Zoe Stark. Remember, Zoe Stark earned this a few weeks ago to finally get Becky at a PLE. So they've been kind of facing off through the weeks, haven't really attacked each other, been kind of a respectful sort of waiting for this match. Um, and Zoe, she has a lot of momentum going. She's finally kind of getting over and getting her name out there and getting bigger spots. And she really holds her own against Becky. I mean, it's kind of a classic Becky Lynch match where it's just a struggle. They're both fighting. They've seen each other before in matches, so they kind of know each other. Um, Zoe actually ends up hitting her finisher, her Z360, but they're both kind of so exhausted in the middle of the ring. It takes a while for Zoe to actually pin Becky. So Becky's able to kick. The crowd's kind of getting behind them. We're hearing the claps to get them both up. They stand up. They face each other. They're going back and forth with strikes. Becky gains momentum, is able to kind of Irish whip her into the corner, run, knock her down into that corner, give her a few more strikes. Sets up her finisher, pins Zoe Stark, and gets her 3 count and defends her title. Kind of stands in the ring a little bit and looks at Zoe and nods her head at her like, "You almost had me."
Nice. I like that. It's a good match, and it's nice to see Zoe being competitive, not just kind of jobbing to whoever needs the bigger moment for that title shot, but actually having her own.
Yeah, well, she had that run with Trish Stratus in rivalry with Becky Lynch, and you thought she was going to do more, and then Trish went away, and they were like, "That's it."
Yeah. Yeah, they called her up to the main roster and kind of just used her as an accessory to that feud, and then kind of let her flounder after that.
Yeah.
And
All right.
apparently she's billed out of where is it, Vegas maybe? but she's actually from Salt Lake City. So when I was at, I think the Raw that she appeared at, there was a giant part of the crowd that was all there just for Zoe Stark.
Huh.
And I'm
Did not
and I'm
know that.
almost I'm almost surprised that they didn't change her ring announcement just for that night to being from Salt Lake City because of how many people were there for her.
Yeah, I'm surprised too. I didn't know that.
Yeah, so yeah, just a fun little fact about her. And that takes us into what, our women's match now?
Women's final
Yeah.
for the Women's National Championship.
Yeah, and we've got what, Tiffany Stratton and Candice LeRae, which honestly, I wrote this differently than I planned. I actually wasn't having Candice get to this final round originally, and I kind of rewrote all of this last night to have her just to showcase this mean streak a little more, honestly.
Yeah.
So Tiffany Stratton comes out first, and she's supposed to be hated, but the crowd loves her. Like, there's no denying it. Like, especially in this feud here where Candice has been on such a mean streak, Tiffany kind of plays up the babyface part of this for the match. And Candice comes out with Indy Hartwell, and they put on a solid match. Like, Indy doesn't get involved at all at first. Candice and Tiffy are just kind of going back and forth. And Candice is hoping to keep a lot of momentum by using just like kind of the classic move that Lyra just fell for. She's like, oh my god, look behind you. There's Indy Hartwell about to attack you. And it kind of throws Tiffany off a little bit. And at one point, Candice is out of the ring with Indy, and Indy's kind of just like helping her like recover a little bit. Tiffany Stratton actually gets up on the top turnbuckle and hits a moonsault out of the ring to take both of them out. Candice LeRae is just on the ground. Tiffany Stratton picks her up, puts her in the ring, and she's like, I'm going to do a little damage back to you. And she actually takes that crossface that Candice was hurting people with and puts that on her, and Candice almost immediately taps out to her. And Tiffany Stratton is your inaugural women's national champion.
Wow. She's kind of mean.
A little bit, but the crowd loves it. Like, they don't care how mean she is. They don't care what she does. She gets those Tiffy time chants, and she is in the middle of the ring holding up that title for the first time.
Gonna be a lot of Tiffy time coming up here on Raw.
Yeah, and just so everyone remembers, we did say that whoever has that title can jump brands. They can appear wherever they want, have as many defenses. Tiffany will be a Raw superstar, but she can defend that title anywhere.
And that takes us to our main event, the men's King of the Ring final. The Viper, Randy Orton against LA Knight. Match starts out, they're really kind of circling each other, measuring out, couple strikes here and there. The crowd's kind of hyping them up, like knowing that two pretty big stars are getting ready to go at it. And they do. I mean, they're back and forth. LA Knight's able to hit his flying elbow drop. Randy's able to hit his vintage power slam and his rope DDT. I mean, they're pulling out all the stops on each other. And it's a fairly long match, probably like 20, 25 minutes to decide the winner. LA Knight kind of finally gains momentum, and you're like, oh, he's going to hit this BFT. Randy pushes him off, and everyone knows what's coming. They're like, oh, he's going to get that RKO. But so does LA Knight. He ducks under it, kind of kicks Randy Orton in the gut, and hits him with a DDT. And everyone's kind of surprised. He's like, wow, he kind of read Randy's playbook. And LA Knight's kind of, hyped up. He feels like he's going to finally win that big one. He's playing to the crowd. They're cheering him on. And he's kind of getting ready for this BFT when Randy gets up. And Randy gets up a lot faster than he thought, like he was playing possum, and hits him with that RKO and gets the 3 count, 1, 2, 3, and wins the King of the Ring tournament.
Nice. Yeah, I think the winners of the tournaments were about the only part of this we actually talked about, but I like it. Randy Orton's the new King of the Ring. First time he's gotten it in his career. Can you hear my cat screaming in the background?
Is that your cat?
Yeah, he's like scratching at my door and screaming as
I
loud
thought
as
it
he
was
can.
my kid.
No, that's my cat. He is My bedroom door is shut. I'm as far from it as I can get, and he is just like throwing himself against the door and screaming.
Yes, I can absolutely hear him.
Okay, yeah, I muted myself partway through your match because I saw my like volume thing like picking up his screaming. So if
Big
any
King of the
listeners
Ring
get to
guy.
so if any of the listeners get to hear my cat in the background, I promise we feed him. He's just a very weird little guy. That's
All right.
T'Challa.
So I got my Raw following King of the Ring May 27th. I'm going to kind of go over this quicker because I know we're up against time.
Yeah,
So
I do want to
hold your
remind everyone.
reactions till the end.
I do want to remind everyone though that our King of the Ring was a #1 contenders tournament as well. So not only does Randy get his crown at the end, he now gets to take the title shot of his choosing.
Yeah. Cody Rhodes and Randy matchup would be pretty good.
Yeah, a little bit of a throwback. Who knows? Randy might just appear on a Raw just to kind of throw Cody off his momentum a little bit.
Yeah. All right. Speaking of Tiffy time, she opens our Raw show, that new belt around her waist, kind of strutting to the ring, really playing into the crowd. Has the Queen of the Ring crown on, gets up and she goes, this is where the crown belongs. I told you all I would win it, and I did. And you're looking at the most dominant champ in the women's division, and there's no one that can stop me. And with that, she kind of walks off out of the ring, strutting back, doing her Tiffy time thing. And then Pat McAfee and Michael Cole kind of on air announced that there's going to be a #1 contenders match for the women's national title tonight, and Tiffy will find out her next opponent. And that leads us into our tag team match. So the family won a #1 contenders match a while ago, and the Awesome Truth is finally going to defend it. This is a close match. I mean, both teams are really wrestling well. It's back and forth. R-Truth and Miz gain momentum, and they're able to hit that double 5-knuckle shuffle like they did on the actual WWE Raw this week. And it looks like they're about getting ready to hit a finisher and cover it. And that's when Luca and Adriana, part of the family, kind of stand up on the apron to distract the ref from being able to count any covers. So Miz and Truth get up, and they're kind of like, yo, get off the ring, ref. Like, what are they doing? They're distracting us. And that gives time for Stax and Tony to recover, and they grab them from behind and hit double German suplexes. And, Tony picks Miz up, throws him out the ring. R-Truth's in there as the legal man. And Adriana's not done. She stands back up to distract the ref again, and the ref's like, what are you doing? And that gives time for Luca Crucifino to actually kind of stomp out Miz out the ring, like do some more damage. All of a sudden, though, you hear Ilya Dragunov's music hit, and he comes running down to the ring. He takes out Luca. Tony D'Angelo sees this in the ring, and he looks at it. He's like, what are you doing, Ilya? Like, this match has fallen apart. Tony turns around, and Truth hits that corkscrew scissor kick that he does, like almost knocks Tony unconscious. Miz is able to slip into the ring, sort of distract Stax, throw him back out, make sure he can't break up the cover, and Truth is able to get the cover, and they retain their titles. And we're kind of left wondering, what's Ilya Dragunov's beef?
I genuinely thought they were going to drop the titles.
They were close.
I don't know any of your Raw that you're doing. You didn't tell me any of your plans.
I know.
I genuinely thought they were going to drop the titles.
Yeah, I thought about it.
And I
wasn't
do have
ready
to say,
for it yet.
The image of Tiffany Stratton in a crown with a new title on is just incredible, impeccable.
Yeah. All right, then we get our Becky Lynch promo. She talks about her win at King of the Ring, says, Zoe put on a great match. She took me to my limit, but I'm still a fighting champ, and I'm not going to give up the belt that easy. So I need a new opponent. And Shayna Baszler's music hits. Everyone's kind of surprised. We haven't seen Shayna for a little bit. She's like, hey, I've been here a while. I want my shot. And Becky goes, it's not that easy. You don't get to just walk in here and get a title shot? What have you done to earn it? And Shayna said, I've worked my way up through this whole division, NXT, it's my time. And Becky says, well, I had another challenger in mind, Lyra Valkyria. They faced each other in NXT before for the title, and Becky kind of wants to give her a shot at the big one. And so Becky says, if you beat Shayna, if you beat Lyra next week, you'll be the number one contender, and I'll give you your women's title shot. That's sort of how it ends. And then we go to kind of a mid-card match here. Ilya Dragunov is going to face Luca Crucifino. This was made official by Pierce, kind of commercial break, because, they feel like Ilya cost them the titles. This really isn't a close match. Ilya dominates. I mean, it really only goes 5 minutes. He hits his Torpedo Moscow and his H-bomb to win. We go to commercial break. We come back, and I don't know how many remember last week, but it ended with AOP kind of knocked unconscious and bloodied on the ground. Adam Pearce comes out and says the attack at AOP last week won't be tolerated. He calls out the Bloodline because that's obviously probably who did it. They've kind of had a feud with the Final Testament going. Solo and the Bloodline came out, and Solo says, I told you what would happen if we found them. If you mess with us, there's consequences. And Pearce says, I'm glad you believe in consequences, because the Final Testament will be wrestling on Raw for the near future. And you have a tag match against AOP next week. All of a sudden, AOP comes out of the stands into the ring, and the brawl is on with the Bloodline. It takes a bunch of security, refs to break it up. Pierce just slips out the ring before he gets hurt. And we're kind of set up for that tag team match next week.
I love that feud, honestly. It's such a good one.
I'm a huge fan of it, too. All right. We got our number one contenders match for that women's national title. Zoe Stark is going to get her shot because she looks so good against Becky. And she's going to face kind of a surprising up-and-comer, Maxine Dupree. And Maxine, she's been around for a few months. She's getting better. She impresses early. She gets some good strikes on Zoe, uses those long legs, kind of hits her from across the ring. And Zoe's kind of stunned at first. She was kind of taking the match lightly, thinking she's going to dominate. This match isn't too long. It goes about 10 minutes, and Zoe eventually gains control as Maxine wears out and hits her Z360 to win. And she's got another title shot here coming up. So that goes into our Sami Zayn promo. And you remember last week, Sami told LA Knight if he wins the tournament, he gets a shot at the IC title. But he comes out, he goes, Knight didn't get it done, but I was impressed, and I want to give him this title shot next week. LA Knight's music hits. He comes out kind of upset, and he goes, I don't need your charity. I earned that shot. I was this close to winning King of the Ring. And Sami says, you would have never been this far if I didn't help you. And Knight goes, you didn't help me. I just had to get my momentum back. And they kind of face off on the ring. Tensions are there. Nobody hits each other or anything, but they're set up for a big match next week on Raw for the Intercontinental title. All right, almost done here. Then we get our Drew McIntyre and CM Punk promo. Drew comes out and says, I know I've been dealing with this Punk for a while. He goes, and I'm going to deal with that, but Cody Rhodes, don't think I forgot about you and that title. When I'm done with Punk, I'm coming for you. And Punk's music hits, and he kind of walks down the bottom and says, Drew, you can't beat me. Have you forgot what happens when you lose focus? And Drew's kind of angry. He goes, you mean when you're attacked from behind, surprisingly? And CM Punk's like, I had one arm. What was I going to do to you? And so they're kind of going back and forth. And Drew's getting ready to come out the ring to get Punk. And a bunch of officials and security run down. That's when Cody Rhodes' music hits. Crowd goes wild. Cody comes out and says, I have a title defense tonight against AJ Styles, but once I defend that title, I'll be waiting for either one of you. So we go to our main event, Cody Rhodes and AJ Styles, and this is a long back and forth sort of classic match. They're really pulling out all the stops, really good technical wrestlers. Cody hits a cutter and AJ kicks, and AJ hits his phenomenal forearm and Cody kicks, and it's just really back and forth, not knowing what they're going to have to do to win. AJ gains momentum. He hits a phenomenal forearm. He knew that didn't work last time, so he kind of springboards himself back off the ropes again and hits a moonsault and tries to cover. And Cody kicks like real near falling. AJ just starting to get real frustrated, starts barking at the ref, like count faster, kind of gives Cody time to recover. And Cody takes advantage. He does a striking package, hits the bionic elbow, sort of knocks AJ into position. He hits his cutter, knows it didn't work last time, so instead of going for the cover, he hits a crossroads twice and gets the pin and beats AJ Styles. And remember last time the match ended in DQ, so he beat AJ fair and square this time around, and he retains his title. That is how your Raw ends.
I'm glad to see Cody retaining.
It was close, man. I almost had AJ winning it.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I honestly thought you would have had Cody drop the title by now. I don't know why, but
I have a plan.
But I am, as The Rock says, a Cody crybaby. So I am fine with Cody keeping that title, and as long as they give him good defenses, like you're giving him solid feuds here. I wish that they would actually have something good for him.
Yeah,
in WWE.
I just haven't really set up for this person that I want to lose, Cody Rhodes, to lose to, and I'm not sure I know who that is yet. So
That's
until
fair.
that happens, Cody is going to continue his defense and get good matches, a la Seth Rollins' run with the World Heavyweight title. But anyway, before we keep talking too much, that's our show. Hope you all enjoyed our version of events in King of the Ring. We're both excited, I know, to watch the actual PLE this coming weekend. Don't forget to like and subscribe on, what are we on now? Spotify, YouTube, Amazon, Apple.
Yep.
So we're easy to find.
Yeah, we're easy to find, easy to search up. If you go to my website, darkstarshady.com, there's a whole Wrestling is Fiction page with links to each of the different platforms you can listen to us on. So if you've been on Spotify but you prefer YouTube, head over to the website, click the link, you can subscribe there. I'm on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter, all as at DarkstarShady. I post teasers. I know Zach posts teasers online. We share each other's posts on there. My TikTok's full of trading cards and video games as well. I do occasional lives where I play video games and just chat about wrestling while I do it, chat about other games while I do it. And that's about it. That's another week of our showdown, and next week you get to see the fallout of post King of the Ring. Where is Randy Orton going to challenge for his title? Is Logan Paul actually going to win his title rematch against Wesley? And we've got some good Raw moments that'll be coming up from your side as well.
We sure will. So for my partner here, Steven, I'm Zach. Thanks for listening, and we'll talk to you next week.